pulled over.
It's us, the internet people.
We're still here, and today that's your problem.
Well, that's fair. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, give us the sound checks. Let us know who's too loud and who's too quiet. We'll adjust those things even though we don't touch the buttons in between.
Yeah, I've changed nothing.
I've changed nothing. That sounds like the summation of my life. I've changed nothing. Depp is a bit quiet. Text loud, Depp quiet. Well, that's fair.
Okay.
I've been told I'm sometimes a quiet person in person, but loud on the internet. I'm not sure why that is.
Is that any better?
I don't know. I'm not listening to the stream in myself. I can't stand the sound of my own voice.
That's fair. You just have an on-air kind of volume.
On
You need
air.
more depth. Well, I'm maxed out, so you don't get more depth.
Max depth. That sounds like a setting, Turn it over to max depth.
The DEP dial goes to 11.
The You know what? That sounds like a good dial. I'd turn that up. Just get little interesting factoids when you turn it up. It just goes, hey, did you know that Flecktarn is not originally... And then you're like, oh, well, that's fascinating. Give us a camo fact, Deb.
Ammo fact.
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
Well, I was prompted for, God, a year on the Courtesy Flash. Tex, give us a snake fact. And I'm like,
Okay.
Snakes have a sharp end and a not sharp end. I had to come up with those on the fly.
The M81 woodland pattern is an enlarged variation of ERDL, which was adopted in the 60s but designed in 1948. And was actually our first post-war pattern, having designed it with all the lessons learned from all the captured German documents and patterns. I think I created this pile of bodies.
Well, who else did it?
Ooh, there's a law.
Literally, who else did it? That's my question. Who else makes piles of bodies, right?
Nobody as well as me, clearly.
You know that song, from Beauty and the Beast, Gaston, It's like that, but with murder. Like, no one kills like Gaston. It's you. That's who you are.
Beautiful. Now I have the long arm of the law.
I knew a guy who actually had activated a quite functional law rocket. And I didn't ask too many questions on the, technicalities of the legalities, because I kind of wanted to believe that everyone was capable of having such a thing. But this guy specializes in rockets. He is a destructive devices dealer, through and through. That's his job.
Yeah,
And he has, you got to specialize in the SOT world. And that is the Special Occupancy Tax stamp, for those who are curious or in Europe. These are the people who are dealers for various munitions. And this guy, he's the guy who has offered to sell me rockets for the Panzerschreck. He's an interesting fella.
Okay.
I've thought about a rocket. It's going to take a while. I've thought about a rocket, though. because as you can hear in the background, Mr. Train is out there. And I'm not saying I would shoot a rocket at a train. I'm not saying I would do that. I'm not intimating or suggesting that would be the course of action. I just would like to have the option. So what is your favorite and least favorite camouflage of the 21st century?
Of the 21st century. Well, that narrows
Yes.
it down quite a bit.
It does. I'm a basic bitch when it comes to camo, because I'm colorblind. But I actually like Fleck Tarn quite a bit. I like Tiger Stripe for some applications. Before anyone tries to ask what I like.
Well, that would make sense. Those are both pretty distinctive patterns, even desaturated.
Psydoc just yelled CAD pad.
CAD Pat was designed before the turn of the century, brother.
Yeah.
Designed in 96, adopted by 98.
See, this is how you know you got the autism.
Flecktarn came out of the 1976 troop trials where they tested a big variant, the variant we got, a small variant, and then a couple of non-Flecktarn variants.
I like Fleck Tarn. It works.
They're adopting a multicam Flecktarn right now. That's only seen roll out to a couple of their special units. But it's pretty much just multicam colored. I think they may have added a gray. Like the Austrians did. I don't know. Well, yeah, the Austrians added a new camouflage after 50 years of olive drab, solid olive drab everything.
They don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's why they don't care.
Well, they do now, as they have adopted. Do you care? No. Well, nah. Maybe? Now the robot doesn't seem to care about me. Yep, there it was.
Austria is an interesting country, but when it comes down to their military history, I remember there was a wild era right after World War II where they had both American weapons and T-34-85s.
Yep. One of the many restrictions that Stalin put on the Allies was that they couldn't bring Austria entirely into NATO's sphere of influence immediately.
Right, but then the Russians were just like, Austria's too far west.
Yeah. And, they broke a couple of promises about Poland being allowed free elections and some other stuff, so...
How
we
dare you
began to
point
care
out the
less and
truth?
less about what Stalin thought. Favorite camouflages of the 21st century. I like Finnish MO5 patterns. I like that. Specifically because they have an intelligently done winter pattern. Least favorite is probably Russian EMR. It's not an effective pattern.
One of my favorites is I've said Fleck Tarn, I've liked Splitter or Tiger Stripe. I know it's been called both, but I don't care. I'm not a really big guy on jargon because I think language is mutable. But I think that robot was better prepared for that than you were.
Yeah, he was.
I mean,
I
to be fair,
him to detect me.
To be fair, the robot is a literal ass-kicking machine, right?
Yeah.
Probably a dangerous thing.
You're right.
But when it comes down to camouflage, being someone who's colorblind, who sees in a bit more contrast than most people, and thinks that most camouflage is bullshit, I like some of the patterns, but I remember the War on Terror gave us some of the worst ones. They were like digiflage, where
Yeah.
everything's just digital. I was like, that's not good. Especially the Air Force one, which blended in with nothing. That was not a good camouflage.
It was a morale pattern, a lot like the blueberries of the Navy.
If I was designing uniforms for the U.S. Navy, if I had to actually design them, I would make sure they didn't blend in with the ocean whatsoever. Because
why would you do something like
sometimes,
that?
well, because sometimes people go overboard, right?
Yeah, into
And
the ocean.
right, and if they're stuck in the ocean, I think that it would be really important for them to be spotted against the ocean by contrast. Maybe I'm thinking out loud. Maybe I'm a little crazy.
Clearly, you are. Yeah, no, they got rid of the best uniform the Navy ever wore, which was dungarees, in favor of the blueberries, which they then realized was a bad idea after everybody made fun of them a lot. And now they just wear the fucking avocado AOR 2.
They brought back the tiara, though.
They did bring back the tiara for mess dress for certain occasions.
It's not terrible. I mean, that's fancy for all the ladies watching. There's a tiara
something.
now. There is a U.S. Navy tiara.
Yep, with all the requisite jokes that come with adopting something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes that when it comes down to the psychology of women, there's a time where you want to feel fancy. You gotta get the fancy shoes and the fancy tiara, whatever it may be. And
Mess
so,
dress is definitely that time, if ever a uniform.
I'm just saying, like the Statue of like I know everyone made fun of the Navy for it. Oh, tiara, but look, the Statue of Liberty has a tiara. It's American as apple pie, is it not?
It's up there.
So that we have a militarized tiara is suitable. It's absolutely suitable.
And this is only the second time we've adopted it, I believe.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's fair. We do like tiaras. I mean, we say we don't like nobility, right?
No, we just worship a different royal class.
That's fair. I mean, well, see, I'm fine with the idea.
Industrialists.
You have to have your suck from the giant. Again, it's one of the most disturbing.
Brother.
It's one of the most disturbing things to think that someone walks into an office and no word said, drinks a water cooler dry.
Yeah, drinks 10 gallons out of the 2 water coolers in the lobby of the Paris police. As the cop just goes, clear the streets.
If I saw someone drink like 10 gallons of water in like what? A minute? Maybe a minute?
That, yeah.
Yeah, I would leave them alone. I would presume that they were a magical being. Or that I was incapable of harming them, right? I'd just be like, maybe I shouldn't.
I don't think I'm going to pass a retinal scan.
Well, what makes you say that, friend?
Unbreakable glass. How dare they?
I think when it comes down to camouflage, something close to colors that exist in nature are probably pretty smart. But there are some camouflages that don't even achieve near that. Like, seriously, there are some camouflages where you're like, that's not so good.
Does JC keep eye contact with you while he does it? He has to. You're a potential threat.
He doesn't blink. His augments have removed that need. So he just makes wide open staring eye contact while sucking down like 12 gallons of water.
Yeah. That's my interpretation of it.
Psydoc says Australian Oscam is perfect.
Oscam predates the start of the 21st century.
Yeah, we're talking about 21st century camo. And before we get into Predator shit, you know.
Which
Because imagine
is
thinking...
potentially on the horizon.
It is. And in the future, people are going to look back and be like, oh, imagine people used to put ink on clothes, you know.
Yeah. Man, whoever parked these is just a real dick. Blocking the entrance so that nobody else can come in.
Well, yeah, I wonder why. Says the person who just barges into buildings and kills everyone inside. If only I knew someone who did that.
What would you like? Everything 10 credits.
10 credits, that's highway robbery. A soda, please.
Santé. What would you like? Everything 10 credits.
A soda, please.
Santé.
I wonder how many she'll sell me. I've got
That's
a
a-
lot of money because there's nothing to spend money on in this game.
A soda, please.
That was the same problem I actually kind of had with the later Deus Exes, is I didn't feel like there was...
Human Revolution is awful for it. You know the really insulting thing
Have anything?
is they sell you
Until the trucks start running
a
again.
DLC with Human Revolution on launch that gives you more money.
What would you like? Everything 10 credits.
To do what, though?
Have anything to eat?
God only knows.
Only edition
The
till
weapons
trucks
dealer's
start
like,
running
I have
again.
2 darts and a piece of bubble gum.
What
Like, well, I guess
That
I'll have
was-
the 2 darts.
credits.
That was the issue I felt, was I ran into people who had nothing. They would just say, like, I had a pistol and a rocket launcher, and I'm like, cool, and I'd buy both. And then I would say, like, do you have ammo? And they would say no. And then I would leave for a while, because I had the presumption, the bold presumption,
That it would
That-
refill.
well, I had just given them a small fortune for these black market illicit items, right?
Yes.
I would presume that they would take that windfall and that they would later then somehow use that windfall to make more weapons or more access to more weapons or go and buy more material for whatever. No. Why would you do that? They just were like, I'm out. And I'm like, well, why are you still standing around? Like, if this was a one and done, why are you still in the same corner being like, hey?
I think the chefs use Chef Ven for all their products.
Well, I mean, Spaceman's has taught me that's normal. Chef Vend. It's
Yeah.
almost like Chef Microwave.
Man, I almost drank myself back to health there.
I drank myself to health.
Good job. Talk to Chris. If you have a request, talk to my assistant Raymond.
Danish Dude 1981, subscribed for 13 months. You've made a mistake.
I have made a mistake?
No, the
Oh, okay.
Danish dude.
Yes, yes.
What would you like? Everything 10 credits.
And then he's like, "How do I get my money back?
This would be our only edition.
How do I retrieve my money from these internet fools?"
Everything 10 credits.
I had a thing acquired under questionable circumstances. and you've purchased it from me, I'm done providing support to you.
This would be our only
Yeah, no, that's
intention.
exactly how the black market
Again.
runs in Human Revolution. Is
Not
You
wrong.
have two maps. You have Detroit and you have, God, was it Hong Kong? Yes, Hong Kong. Each of them...
Shanghai.
Shanghai, yes. Each of them has one illicit arms dealer. Each of those guys has approximately 6 rounds for 2 or 3 of each of your weapons.
So here's the thing. Some of you have asked, what's going to happen after we beat Deus Ex? Because we're nearer the end than the beginning, right? We're nearer the end than the beginning.
Perhaps I want to take
And so people have asked, well, what next? I know that on off weeks we play other games like Call to Arms or whatever. But next up, I have decided that Depp needs a palate cleanser after playing Deus Ex the first time. So I bought Depp My Summer Car, which is a Finnish game, which has all the promise, because Depp knows a lot about engine and vehicle repair and Eastern Europe and
Play
many
something with
interesting
lighting.
things.
Joshua, be careful.
Wow.
I know this man.
I will not hide under a rock.
I cannot wait until Depp explores the Finnish world.
Just surprised to find a Parisian who has heard the
But after that, I think Human Revolution is more than fine.
I learn what I
A lot of people, when Human Revolution came out, absolutely rebelled because they said this isn't Deus Ex, this isn't this isn't that, and I thought all those people were just being assholes because I felt it was a perfectly fine sequel, having actually played the original.
He was the one who wanted to be
Yeah, and... Oh god, his legs don't touch the ground.
You don't need to. It's the future.
Neither of theirs do. Look at that guy.
Look, he's a whittle guy.
I guess.
He's just a whittle guy. It's just
The
a
only
whittle.
person with feet firmly planted on the floor like an alpha is, the 10-year-old there with the dead eyes.
God, I've got the sneezies today.
So you do.
I do. I actually dusted my whole room today, and I was like, done! And then I sneezed for like 12 minutes, and I was like, disgusting. I've now replaced the dust.
Yeah, that's usually how that works. What did they want me to do?
I was watching a interview with people from the Dust Bowl, right?
Yes.
And they were talking about how there was dust everywhere and that they had to turn their plates over, on the counter so that they wouldn't be full of dust
Yes.
when they came home from work or whatever, because there was that much dust. Even with closed windows and closed blinds, there was that much dust in the air and dust. And the one thing I realized is not one of them complained about working 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that I could have a dust bowl, but have time off to fight the dust or whatever, I'm down.
It's interesting what we can become accustomed to.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. And thank you for the blessings, E-Train. I appreciate it.
I suspect I've been in number 12 already.
Just find if there's bodies, right? If there's bodies, you've done it.
Yeah, and here's some bodies.
Well, you've been there before.
Bodies in a Broken ATM. That's the name of my first album.
What is the album? Is it jazz? Is it spoken word? Is it rap?
That would be an interesting jazz album name. Bodies in a Broken ATM.
I have
Jazz
listened to so many weird jazz albums, and the problem is that if I listen for 5 minutes and I realize it's just a jam session, that I can't identify a single lick to the album, I just go, no thanks. Because a lot of the freeform jazz, I know there may be some, like jazz aficionados in the audience or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the freeform jazz, I jokingly call like Weather Channel jazz. Because I just listen to it, and all I can see is like, that is the music in the background on the Weather Channel. That's it. I can't recognize any of it.
Dude, 90s Weather Channel jazz was awesome.
This is the person yawning.
Yeah.
It was awesome. You sounded almost like NPR there for a minute.
Well, they're very exciting sometimes.
Well, the thing that's weird about NPR is they will be like, we're talking this later after... Well, first of all, I'm way too loud to be NPR. It would be like,
She decided not to show.
this evening we are talking about the future of lesbian beekeepers and how they cope with higher Nutella practices. And it will be something like that. And you're like, wait, what? And then it goes to a little commercial. We need to raise money. We love it. We are brought to you by you. Blah, 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 blah. So you're just like, wait, what? Because it sucker punches you with a bunch of words that you never thought were in the same sentence, right? It will just be like, and now next week, the voting practices of cockroaches. And you're like, what? And then just 10 seconds to 30 seconds of, oh, here's the latest on the news, or perhaps here's your local NPR station reminding you they exist, and then back to something else. And you never hear that story they're talking about. I've never heard it.
Well,
Not
because the car
once.
ride's over by then.
Well, of course. I think that they just hire a guy to say, like, word salad, right? They just hire that guy, and he comes up with a sentence that isn't real. And you're like, what was that?
Everything you say he is.
I will tell you, whoever is
Wait by the chopper.
We don't have all night.
I'll be
yeah,
quick.
we do actually have all night, because night does not end until I say it does. KPR has a dude who really likes jazz. Because one of the ones that he set up as just a weirdo time slot
Ask you a
is
question.
Space Jazz at like 6 p.m. on a Saturday.
Great.
Space
Oh
jazz.
yeah, it's time for the 6 p.m. 2-hour Space Jazz block. This is by Leon and the Starfighters. It uses one instrument. It's a 7-note 5-minute composition. I hope you enjoy. And it's just silent, and you hear like a single clarinet note, and then silent.
Oh my god.
Oh, it is something else. It really is.
So I remember there was a
What
there
did
was a
Leon
whole
say?
era of AM radio, right?
Uh-huh.
A whole beautiful era of AM radio. And so you had Coast to Coast with Art Bell,
Oh yes.
and then you had George Norrie after him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who does that next. There's probably someone else.
You know, the lightsaber really should affect door strength. I shouldn't have to use explosives. Anyway,
I
sorry.
agree.
Yeah.
Because that was an era, because I worked nights, and that was what was on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd put that on the radio.
Let's go.
And I would listen to them just talk insane madness.
Don't worry. He hasn't let me down. Let's hit it.
Alright, Josh.
So George is apparently still doing it. George Norrie is still in it.
Yes, he is. And he sounds really fed up now.
What? Like, this is all bullshit. Oh, man. I can imagine that. I mean, because I used to listen, and there was so many crazy, interesting people. And by interesting, I mean in the same interest as like people watching at Walmart at 3 in the morning is interesting, right? Because you'd sit there and they're like, there would be some 80-year-old guy would be their guest for the evening, right? And their guest for the evening is this 80-year-old guy, and he's talking about how the crystals that he has are going to cure everyone's cancer who's listening to the radio
Your mother?
at that very moment.
I no longer have a key. We must find my mother's
So I, who don't have cancer, was like, well, will this preempt cancer? Like, that was my thought, because it was like 3 in the morning on the radio, and that's how my brain works. I'm like, well, what if maybe? So I tune in, and he said that we had to go buy, like, fresh water, and the quote-unquote fresh water that he said was the appropriate water to buy had to come from certain stores. And I was working as a security guard, and I had actually happened to buy that same water, and I'm like, well, I'm in luck. I'm not getting cancer. Because this old man is about to bless me on the radio, right?
crazy.
And this old guy
Sobe-
says he's...
Sobe life water baptism, huh?
Right, exactly. Via radio, no less. And so this guy gets on his thing, and he starts talking about the importance of, you know, the water and the blessing and all that other stuff. And midway through his blessing, he starts coughing uncontrollably. And I'm like, wait a second. Maybe this guy's not as healthy as I was led to believe. Oh, man. I used to miss that era of radio. Just because you never knew what you'd hear on it. It was always some wacky, wackadoodle person who was trying to convince you that, you know, only they had heard the voice of God or whatever.
No, I've met Jesus Christ several times, and he's never been particularly nice to me.
Oh, so in your time as a cop, people have come up and said, just by the way,
But Mom always picked
Uh-huh.
up the wine. She was using
I am the son of God.
Yeah.
All right.
One
and
of them thought that he looked like a painting that was done in the 1800s of Jesus, and that's why he was
when I was
Jesus.
a little girl, I used
that's not so bad. At least I understand the logic,
Well,
you know?
So, I offered him a ride because he needed a ride to the next town over, and he was
Right.
walking along the highway. So I offered him a ride.
Well, you help the people who are walking on the highway just because I fear that you don't want to reenact any part of the first Rambo movie. You want to be the guy who offers the ride. Right? You don't want to be the guy who hassles them. You're like, well, I gave him the ride, so he's not going to kill me.
Yeah.
All right.
So he's silent for the first couple minutes of the ride, and then he turns to me while I'm driving. He says, I look at you, and I am filled with unbelievable shame and sadness.
Oh.
And then he turns to face back out the windshield, and we do not talk again.
The login is Nicolette. The password is Chad.
I mean, that's something.
Yeah. Alright. Oh, silhouette
Just says,
business.
I am filled with shame and sadness.
Yes, when I look at you, I am filled with unbelievable shame and sadness.
You should have started quoting the Bible to him. See, I'm a Jew, but I would have done that. I would have just been like, really? Well, you know, in the good book it says, you shall not know the time or the hour when you'll return, and yet here you are, and I know.
Well, I don't think he knew the time or the hour upon his return.
So you're telling me this guy may have been under the influence of perhaps some medication? Are you suggesting this gentleman may not have been in possession of his full wits?
Yeah,
That's
that
not funny.
that is the implication. God, she's really doesn't like me driving up her power bill.
You know, power in the future is really expensive.
Well, since it's like the literal lifeblood of anybody with implants, I suppose it would be.
Remember once upon a time where the
dude,
nuclear
look.
crowd was saying that the atom will make power so
Yes.
cheap?
It's
What?
a vibe pit. It's a little conversation pit. Remember when
Oh,
houses
man.
had these?
Oh man, you know, I remember when we used to play a lot of Insurgency Sandstorm, and we go into the Arabian houses, and there would be that like pit with all the pillows on the walls and the hookah in the middle of the room,
Uh-huh.
and all of us were just like, man, this would be a really nice conversation room, and we would sit there for like 10 minutes. And then get murdered because the AI was actually really good in that game.
Yeah, I wonder what that game's like now.
We haven't played it in a bit. I'm sure it's gotten some updates. I mean, I'm not saying all the updates are going to be good, but I'm sure it's gotten some.
Yeah.
Does anyone know? Does anyone play any Insurgency Sandstorm?
I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty heavy question. What are you looking for? Asks the voice.
I think my mother kept a room key behind a little vase up here.
I need a little vase, huh? Little vase.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you what I'm looking for any given day. Like, in any given day, it varies. Because, like, some days, what I'm looking for is 5 minutes apiece. But other days, I'll be walking around, and I'll be like, you know what I could go for? Some pho. You know? The soup. Like, you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense.
There, finally got it. Yep.
Because some days you're looking for that, and I'm not saying you'll find it, but sometimes that's a really strong motivator.
My mom's room.
I mean, some days I'm looking for the meaning of life. Other days I'm like, you know what I would like is a good cup of coffee.
Oh, the hours she would spend just sitting at that table and staring up at her priceless treasure.
So here's my question.
Anything change?
I am a strong believer, personally, I'm a strong believer in that pho is the perfect hangover food. Like, if you have made a regrettable series of decisions the night before, pho will save you.
Okay.
But that is my magic cure. What is everyone else's? I'm curious.
Glides through reads, says it has plenty of antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and salt.
All right. Psydoc says grilled cheese and tomato soup.
Okay.
Udon noodle soup.
Bacon sandwich.
Bacon sandwich is up there.
Flat ginger ale. Beef stew.
Scrambled eggs and bowl of grits. Not bad.
A greasy spoon breakfast. That's
I
what
love
my go-to
Vietnamese
is.
food. I also like Vietnamese culture. Their language is pretty easy to learn. And they have a really good philosophy on most things. They make great suits. And they're pretty laid back. I like people who are laid back.
Alright, Nicolette, I'm riding the dumbwaiter. Don't mind me.
Okay, so Granite Elephant, 1/3 pound, greasy burger with a couple strips of bacon, an over medium egg, and cheddar cheese. Huh.
Is this the basement?
I definitely, though, do like Vietnamese food. I also like studying their military strategy because they're pretty good when it comes to defense in depth. They're kind of the world champions at that.
Somehow I fell out of the dumbwaiter.
Why are you in the dumbwaiter? Let's start there.
I thought it was the secret passage. I was like, ooh, it's a false dumbwaiter.
So, Bionic Babe says California burrito from a local Mexican place, carne asada, fried potatoes, cheese, pico de gallo, and hot sauce. If you make pico right, you don't need hot sauce, though.
Are you insinuating that Bionic makes Pico wrong?
No, she bought it from a restaurant. But I could insinuate that, sure. Pico should have a bite to it, but it also depends on the hot sauce. Like, if you get a really vibrant green hot sauce, even though I don't see color, I know green hot sauce by taste, not texture or color. If you get a really vibrant green hot sauce, like a jalapeno sauce or something like that, it's not just the heat. There is a certain acidity to it that actually brings a lot out of the food. Oh, Admiral Supernova. So here's the thing. Post-American involvement in Vietnam, Vietnam then fought Cambodia. Pol Pot, the guy behind the killing fields, Vietnam killed him. And then China got mad at Vietnam for killing Pol Pot. China invaded Vietnam. And then Vietnam beat China to death. And then ever since, they've just kind of minded their own business and made suits. You know, just kind of easy going there.
Oh Lord.
Occasionally a snappy parade, but most of it's just tourism now. For a while, before COVID, before inflation and all that, you could go to Vietnam and get lobster for like $1, and beer was like 10 cents. Pretty cheap. Also, the Vietnamese have one of my favorite phrases, Gin Loi. It means my bad.
I wanted to be in the city, but I guess Mom thought it was easier to keep her activities secret
So-
in the country.
She has a room the size of a 3-car garage. Her mom got her a human fucking skull as decoration. And she walks in and goes, "This was my prison for 18 years." Like, Jesus Christ, lady. How sheltered was your life?
Bionic knows how to cook. She made meatballs, and I put them in my mouth, and my mouth was on fire.
Okay.
Because they were that hot, but they tasted good. I was in that point of self-harming at that point. You know what I mean?
What's the likelihood that the old woman jumped off the balcony to get to the cellar fast?
Perhaps. Careful and watch your feet, otherwise you're going to need to drink another 12 gallons of water.
Yeah.
I need to take a break and blow my nose. I've suddenly become overcome with the dust.
Okay.
The dust!
Lord.
Is there a clue in the book? Excuse me. E-Train 765. My dad was in Nam, Green Beret. Grandfather was an F4 pilot and had confirmed kills on 2 MiG-21s. Yeah, you know, people will read stories about all that kind of stuff, and then they forget that those people come back and have lives. Is dust code for some new designer drug or something? I think in his case it's actually just dust. So I read, oh, not Wing and a Prayer. I did read Wing and a Prayer, which is Harry Crosby's memoir. But I've been on a real aircore kick recently. What did I read? There we go. Tail End Charlie, which was a fighter pilot's memoir from the war. And at the end, they talk about his life afterwards, and I realized that he was a teacher in the same school district that I graduated from. And I'd never met him. He was at a different school, but just small world stuff like that. Yeah, Bully, that's a fairly common experience.
All right, I live again.
You live, you die, you live again?
Well, I mean, that's if you're good.
That's not foreshadowy at all.
It's not foreshadowing. It hasn't happened yet.
Alright, there we go. Money. BDU Claire and Nico _Angel.
Isn't that a wonderful handle for the internet age?
It's something. God, and 2 fire extinguishers. This lady was really safety conscious.
Alright, so you know how there are, like, all sorts of weird edible things that you wouldn't think would be edible, but there's, like, edible paint and edible this and edible that. What I want them to make is edible silver spray paint that's safe. Because I need that for when I'm in traffic. Because I cannot tell you the amount of times I've been cut off by assholes where I would love to have a spray paint can of that and just blast my face with it when I look over at them and just scream, "Witness me," as I gun it. I was in traffic today, and I was glad I did not have glove box gun. I would have used it. So, the BPL meetup is soon at location redacted. Happens every year. There are localized BPL meetups. By the way, if you're in the audience and you're interested in joining the Black Pants Legion Auxiliary or our public Discord, do an !Discord in the chat, and you'll get a link right away. There you go. But the thing is, every so often, there is the big BPL meetup, which some people might think, oh, it's just a bunch of people hanging around, fawning around text. It certainly is not. It is one of the main reasons that people are in the BPL is just positive community, you know, kind of like the internet used to be. But people just hang out, love meeting each other, hanging out with each other, playing RPGs with each other, being each other's support, having a good time. So it's just like a continuation of internet nonsense, but in person. So there's like a Magic the Gathering game that lasts for 7 days straight. There's a bunch of RPGs. Sometimes there's movie night. People get drunk or whatever. Just good times. And so at the BPL meetup, which is soon to arrive, I've sent some items. And I have a thought regarding these items. A interesting thought, shall we say. I sent 2 cases of in-year MREs. I know we have chefs in the BPL, and people who are gourmands, right? So I thought, what if I challenged those people to make something of those MREs in terms of either an amuse-bouche, meaning something you eat before the meal, like a small appetizer, or a full-fledged delicacy using all of their skills.
My mom installed special cooling and humidity control to preserve the
Okay.
frontages. Her one hobby.
That will be an interesting addition.
There's a bunch of Europeans that I love to subject to American things. You know, you have to give them the American baptism, where you take them out to get like biscuits and gravy, right? Because those words together melt their brain.
Well, yeah.
But then
'cause
you
they
go-
They don't use our version of
Stop goofing
either
around.
word.
Right, exactly. So you break their brain with these combination of words, and you're like, oh yeah, let's go get some biscuits and gravy for breakfast, and their brain just suddenly melts. I would really love to see what the Europeans think of American MREs. Be like, we have invaded multiple countries eating only these.
What's this? A dungeon? That's
Now,
not funny.
I've fed foreigners MREs before, so I know that they don't tend to like them.
They don't. Doctor somehow says, I saw a British teenager call it scones and sauce. Yeah, biscuits and gravy, I know how to make. My great-grandmother taught me how to make it. And it's the Great Depression recipe. So very, 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 very few things go into it. Bionic says, can we use other ingredients or only the stuff in the emery? I think you could use other ingredients so long as they're limited. Like, you're not going to be sitting there going like, oh, well, yes, I use my $2,000 cognac to make a sauce. You know, it has to be like, you know, a handful of vegetables or some spices. Though, what spices you could add to an MRE?
Well, they tend to be kind of bland in flavor, so spices is not bad. It's what we usually brought.
That's not funny.
I saw a 5-star chef actually try to church up an MRE, and it was pretty interesting. What he did was he did a very basic sauce using very cheap brandy, and he used capers.
Oh my god.
And he would just pan fry everything, because he was like, if you make these into potato pancakes, essentially, they're a lot better. And everyone who ate them was like, you're not wrong. Okay, so Bionic says she accepts. We just need to get Doctor Who to accept. And then Mean Meat Machine is very much a gourmand. I think that it'd be funny if he was the judge, because I'd love to watch him start screaming.
I don't know, man. He did carbonated spaghetti one, so
Oh yeah, everyone has to turn on their stupid a little bit, just a little bit. But you do Midwest Taco Night, so fuck you. Remember when we showed Huts Midwest Taco Night,
yeah,
and you just heard angry Spanish for like a minute?
I had no idea.
yeah.
Also, please turn around. As you may have noticed, Deus Ex actually guessed wraparound screen, big ol' widescreen that
Oh,
wraps
yeah.
around and does stuff. I mean, it guessed a lot of things, but we have to give them some points.
A transmission from Morgan Everett.
I'm not saying they're prescient. I'm just saying that they did pretty good.
They did better than they had any right to.
He didn't say.
The world
Well-
that they depict in Deus Ex is a little bit closer today than it was in
Register 12 controls
1999.
the place now.
Oh, I agree. The other thing that I really think Deus Ex, well, if we're talking about prescient, if you go read the Cyberpunk 2020 books, the Home of the Brave is an excellent walkthrough of like the breakdown of America. It's like scary good. And I'm not trying to say, oh, conspiracy, but it does a really good job. It does it in a way that's not like Tom Clancy-ish. It does it really well. The Home of the Brave book for Cyberpunk 2020. Like, yeah, there's some fantastical stuff, like X amount of crazy corporate wars or whatever, but it's fairly good, and it's really decent writing. I had actually thought about reaching out to him and having him on a podcast and being like, all right, so, of all the things you predicted, which of the ones are you scared of most? He'd probably be like Amazon. I don't know, Bionic. You say you had Nam Nam's Nanner Water, or Gam Gam's Nanner Water. I said Nan Nan's. Good Lord.
Did.
I don't know. That's the one weird thing is like most people will say father, mother, daughter, son. They have very similar lexicon. But when it comes down to their grandma, it gets weird. They'll be like Gam Gam, Nan, whatever. I've heard some. All right, Chant? What do you call your grandma? Like, what is your favorite name? Shorthand, because some people will say grandma and granny.
Honorific.
Yeah, nanny. See what I mean? G-ma. Nana, nanny. I don't. Oma. See, it's varied.
Yeah. Oma's, that's old world. That's German.
I had an Oma and I had a grandma.
I only had grandmas.
No, but the Oma was not a great lady. She was very much set in her time, and I'd rather not get into that. But the other one, Grandma, she was a hoot. She was a lady who actually made a clown break his nose.
Strange, she never showed off the collection to anyone.
I told you that story, right?
No.
All right, so there was a parade, and she went to every parade on the military base because her husband of like 50 years was in the U.S. Army for like 36 of them. And so, she went to every parade on the military base, and she gave and donated her time and her money and her energy to a lot of veterans charities, and I think that's kind of brushed off on what I do. Very influential lady. And she went to this one military parade, and there was a clown riding a unicycle, and he would ride up on the unicycle and honk his horn in people's faces. Like that was his gimmick. He would, get on the unicycle, ride up into someone's face, honk the horn like 12 times. Get up in the unicycle, ride into someone's face, honk the horn like 12 times. She got tired of this. She found it to be tiresome. And so she said, "Mister, you have a flat tire." He looked down and ate the pavement.
Oh, no.
Right. Apparently he lost some teeth in that. But that being said, my grandma is pretty awesome.
Oh Lord.
Guy on Broadway asked, "Did she just do the 'your shoes are untied' on a fucking clown?" Yes. She was awesome. She also had a Walther PPK in her purse. When we moved her to the rest home, we went through her things, because that has to happen when you move someone into a care facility. And she had a Walther PPK in her purse. And we were like, "How long have you had that in your purse?" And she goes, "I don't know. back when Reagan was president. And she had bought it, like, during the Reagan administration. Had just bought a Walther PPK, put it in her purse, never fired it. So I, being the gunsmith in the family, had to actually go, check it out and make sure it was functional. Perfectly fine. Absolutely meticulously maintained. No holster, just put in the purse.
Bouncing around with the chiclets and the...
My grandmother had so much shit in her purse that she could have kept the Donner Party alive. Then again, I think...
Circle strafing me, you son of a bitch.
Circle strafe is dangerous. This is future technology. But no, I'm serious. Like, that whole generation of old ladies could have kept the world alive just through their purses. I think for every decade a woman ages, her purse gains 10 pounds.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably not far off the mark.
It's kind of a magic thing. Because when I was in my 20s and dated a woman in my 20s, she had a purse that was like the size of a credit card, and it contained basically a credit card, right? But women nowadays, like my age, wow, my age, they have enough room in their purse for like an Uzi, which is kind of attractive. It's like, you have an Uzi holder and no one will look further at it. They won't be like, oh, that's an Uzi. They'll be like, oh, it's just a lady with her purse.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's money in that.
In purses or Uzi holders?
Uzi purse.
Uzi does it.
Are you telling me that... okay, chat. Question. How many ladies in chat? Just curious. How many ladies in chat? And if you are a lady, would you buy an Uzi purse? See, this is how we do market research.
It's one way.
Uzi purse. Come on. It's a good idea. Why would you not buy Uzi purse? I mean, yeah, you'd have to buy an Uzi first, but, I mean, we can live in the past. See, Wildine, yes to both? See, Bionic says she could fit an Uzi. See? Uzi purse. Deb, I'm doing that market research.
Fuck yeah.
People need to know. Uzis are pretty fun to work on. It's one of those things where I was out at a gun range once, and a guy had an Uzi, and he had basically run through all of the ammo that he had brought, because when you have a machine gun, that happens. So he's using all the ammo he has. He runs through it. He goes to the range operator and says, is there any more ammo I could have? And the guy goes, well, I've got these handloads.
Oh, no.
You know, when... you know what that means. So... in the 32-round Uzi magazine, somewhere around 17 or 18 is an oops all powder, right? And there is a cacophonous bang, and the Uzi comes apart, and I go, oh my god, this guy just destroyed a machine gun. Like, I bet this guy is pissed. I am sitting there going like, man, he's going to have me fix this thing. We're going to have to do so much work. This is insane. Like, I was freaking out. And the guy very calmly takes the bolt out of it and takes the top cover off the Uzi and walks over to a park bench where we are shooting and bangs the top cover against the park bench like 4 or 5 times, like really hard. And it's fine. He just puts it back together and just keeps shooting. Like, doesn't break a sweat, doesn't get, just eh. and I'm going, what a submachine gun. Nice.
Bionic asks, what's your opinions on the concealed carry corset?
I don't know. I mean, like, there's an interesting psychological angle at work, is there not? Because if a guy sees a gal in a corset, he's gonna look, but he's not ever going to assume she has a gun. Ever.
I mean, it's a surefire way to know that you won't print.
That's fair. And it depends on the gun, obviously. But yeah, I mean, pull it off. Now, there's the other question of like,
so
there's
on
go
the
ahead.
topic of that. Sorry,
Go ahead.
I know just the tiniest little lady, and her preferred concealed carry is a full-size USP tactical.
Good Lord. Why?
She appendix carries, and I don't know how she does it. She's like, yeah,
Well-
45, they all fall to hardball. Like, you're not supposed to actually say that.
Good Lord. See, I once shoulder holster carried because I'm very much a barrel chested guy. I once shoulder holster carried a 44 Magnum, and no one ever knew I was doing it. Nobody. But that's because I'd actually made my own holster for it. So it was very much cut to me. But the idea of somebody like appendix carrying a USP tactical when they're kind of petite is a bit bonkers to me because I own a USP tactical. It's actually kind of safer asking what I don't own versus what I own. But yeah, thinking of that as that's not supposed to be a concealed carry gun. That's a drop leg holster gun for tactical stuff.
It's kind of a pain even in a normal belt holster.
The point of a USP tactical is you do not have enough room or practicality need for a SOCOM, like an actual Mark 23. So you have the USP Tactical, which is larger than the USP by a little bit, but not a Mark 23.
Yeah.
That they have not great triggers, and I'm saying this is an HK Smith. They have not great triggers, not as complex as SIG triggers, but not great triggers. So for concealed carry, I mean, yeah.
Well, SIG went all out and did the stupid on some of their stuff. I will freely admit that as somebody who owns a lot of SIGs. Now, ooh, she had money on her.
But when it comes down to like tactical corset, I mean that's a whole other argument, right? Because there was that gun bunny tactical corset thing, and I suppose it works. Why not? I mean, I'm sure it was just a fashion choice, or at least it started as such, but I guess in the modern era, it's as good as anything else. If it's stupid but it works, it isn't stupid.
That is the way of the world.
Be
SIG
your
US is completely different from SIG Europe. SIG US runs on a diet of half illegal drugs and half other illegal drugs.
yeah, but they actually did a really good job with the 210. The last SIG I actually took apart on my bench and worked on professionally, like they paid me money to do it, was an original Swiss like Sig 210, and I was like, what a majestic gun. And then I had to work on one of the modern Sig 210s a while ago for a friend of mine at my workplace, and I said, they did a really good job on this version of it. Like a really good job. The trigger in that thing feels like a cheat code. Like if you can't shoot a semi-automatic handgun, but you get a Sig 210, you can shoot a semi-automatic handgun. You'll be printing like you spend all day at the range.
Oh, God. We did a night qualification and just some real simple but good range time with the agency this week.
Yeah.
It's really screwed things up because I had to put in the overtime to be at the range, and then I had to put in the overtime 2 other days to cover other people at the range.
Sure.
So I'm just all screwed up this week. But yes, no, I threw rounds left and right, and I don't usually do that. I was just off my game this week. The last thing we did, though, was a precision drill.
Sure.
Which is shoot a glow stick from 10 yards.
That's not bad, actually.
Well, so the cool thing about that is because the only point of light is the glow stick, we turn everything else off.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, flash fire drills. I've done a lot of that.
So you turn around, unholster, aim, take your one shot. And on that, I was getting first round hits. I outshot everybody by far.
Hell yeah.
The reason being that with that one bit of light right there, you can really, really dial in your sight alignment if you take your time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Ramshackle Salvage 4 says, "Hey Tex, what do you do if somebody gives you a broom handle Red 9 configuration?"
All right, so I do love the look of old product, old hand-fitted product. I was a 1911 Smith. I just recently finished a really long, in-depth 1911 project, and I can talk about that in a bit if someone reminds me, because I try to watch chat and try to keep with chat. It's very easy to get distracted. But when it comes down to the Red 9s are typically better than, in terms of holding up, if more expensive than, the standard, 30 cal Mauser pistols. The problem is that you have to do what I like to call the safety check, right? I headspace everything. I then look it over and see if it's parts matching, because if it's parts matching, I presume just a handful of springs are broken. But if it's non-parts matching, I'm holding Frankengun. And 9 times out of 10, it's a shooter quality 1896. But in that 1 out of 10, it's a non-shooter quality box of gun that someone figured out how to put together. And so at that point, it becomes a gunsmithing nightmare, because you will headspace it and be like, oh, this headspace is on Tokarev. Well, that's interesting, because back in the 90s and 80s, a lot of people used to run Tokarev through the 30 Mauser because it was very similar in diameter, but it is not in any way similar whatsoever in terms of chamber pressure.
Yep.
So a lot of people destroyed the shit out of their Mauser shooting cheaper, more plentiful, but far more destructive Eastern Bloc ammunition. So a Red 9 is typically designed for 9mm. Mind you, it is designed for 9mm then, not designed for 9mm now. So headspace is... Yeah, so headspace is everything. I make sure it's not too eroded. Checking headspace and throat erosion in any of these firearms, especially older firearms, is sane. Now, if you're asking me, will I replace a barrel on an 1896? Sure. Bring me another 1896 to do it. Otherwise, you're going to pay for me to cut a barrel, and my shop time is not cheap. My minimal shop time these days is $90 an hour. And that's because I have to rent the shop to do it. So please, please think twice before asking me to do gunsmithing.
So tell me how you really feel.
I can rant about guns all day long.
Yeah, I mean, I own that broom handle for... Oh, God, no.
Well, I own a Luger, but I'm gonna sell it. Like, and it's not that I hate the damn thing. It's just that I realize spare parts are no, you know? And if I don't shoot a gun, I'm not gonna keep it.
Yeah.
And I think that's sane. There's some people who don't believe what I believe, and they will keep guns they don't shoot. And I'm like, not me.
That's why I wound up getting rid of that broom handle, was I'd shot 5 or 6 rounds to it. I still have fucking ammo for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go get up for just a moment and refresh my beverage, but I will answer what gunsmithing questions I can. Now, mind you, as a gunsmith, I'm not going to automatically know everything. Don't ask me things on esoteric weird stuff that has only shown up at auctions. If I've not worked on it, I will tell you I've not worked on it and I have no opinion on it. Believe me, if I don't know what I'm talking about, I will tell you I don't know what I'm talking about. But if I have answers, I can answer you. I'll be back in a minute.
If I have answers, I can answer you. What a succinct way to say that. Yeah. I'm sure many of you follow Mark Novak, but a lot of what you're paying for with Gunsmith is their library. Ah. 90-hour shop time? That seems pretty cheap. Yeah, it's... I mean, it's about what our shop time was when I was a machinist.
Alright, I'm back. What's up?
They're saying your shop time is cheap.
I typically don't charge a lot because I like working on stuff. Like my own personal time, I don't charge for a lot. I'm just basing it off of minimal cost for me to get to the gunsmith that I use their tools and tooling for. And they like me being there because I'm one of the few people who actually knows a lot. The gunsmith I occasionally borrow their shop at does not have a lot of experience with machine guns. I do. So I can fix a lot of the stuff that they can't, but then they can charge for my time. I've worked on a lot of machine guns. That's why I kind of collect them. They're nice. There were a few people in the Ox who suggested trying to buy me a machine gun. And I said no, because that's obscene. However, there was a part of me deep down in my soul who was like, I know a guy who has a 240 for sale. You know, not to say that I would take that. I'm very difficult to buy presents for. But machine guns are my soft spot. Like, I can't help it. They speak to me. I hope that doesn't make me sound insane.
Yeah.
Fair. Do you regret selling your 1896?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's cool, but it was a conversation piece more than anything. And I don't have friends over, so who am I going to have a conversation about it with?
Do you need me to come over?
No, you're fine. I just mean generally, I'm not that person. I'm not the fucking cool gun in a glass case in the center of the room kind of person.
I once went and actually had a repair. There was a guy who had like 20 or 30 really rare Schofields, and he had them in a glass case in the center of a room, and he had me look at them. And I said, these need no gunsmithing. These are, as far as I can tell, like, these were new in the box guns that you bought at auction, that somebody bought at auction, that somebody bought at auction, that have never been fired. Like, nothing in the lands or grooves. Just perfect in every way. And it was like he was paying me to confirm that which he already knew, just to brag. And I was like, okay, well, anyways, that's $200. And he paid me in 20s and just kind of smirked. And then I realized he was drinking, like, cognac that is like $8,000 a bottle. So, yeah. Rich people are weird.
Yeah, that can be. You know, I would think that the portable plasma gun would be a one-hit kill on a robot, but who am I to say, I guess?
Oh, gamer guy asking about a Colt 32 1903 pocket hammerless. They're not actually a pain. Most stuff designed by Browning is
Fairly
difficult the first time you work on it. And then every successive time you pull it apart, like, I know people who will work on 1911s, and they will be like, what a bird, because their previous experiences, Glocks or whatever else. And that's fine. That's true. But after you've taken them apart 100 times, it becomes second nature. Most of Browning's designs are actually pretty simple. Just keep working on it. They're all particular in their own way, but 1903 pocket hammerlesses are nice, and there are plenty of enthusiasts and aftermarket parts people out there. Oh, Wildgain asks, what is my unicorn gun? I'd like to have a 50 cal someday. One that I own. Or an MG3, but very, very, very few of those were ever made transferable.
You can make a functionally identical MG3 pretty easy.
Right, but I mean a transferable one. Actually, you know what? If I had to have a unicorn gun, if you told me tomorrow you put a gun to my head and said, choose a machine gun to have and I'll buy it for you, MG34 would be up there. 50 cal would be up there. Those are both guns I find very fascinating. But I have the machine guns I want. I have two of the machine guns I want. And there's probably one more that I'm slowly looking for, but I am far, far, far too poor to purchase it. I would love to have a full auto BAR. But those are obscenely expensive. I own a 1917 water-cooled machine gun and I own a Thompson. I would love to have a 50 cal or an MG34 or a BAR, but you know, there's if wishes were fishes, we'd all have lunch. And some of those things are obscenely expensive.
Yes, they are. No, what I was getting at was the MG1 conversion for the 42 and the M53 Serac is fairly cheap. So you can make something that is functionally an MG3, even though it says M53 or MG42 on the side.
Oh, I get you. And this is just me speaking out loud. And I wouldn't care about BAR variants, but I probably want a Colt Monitor if I could choose anything.
The Monitor is the coolest variant.
And the water cooled's fine. It's fine. There's a lot of things I'd like, but you know, like I'd like a tank, but it's probably best I don't have one.
Fuck.
What about an express rifle? I've shot a 700 Nitro Express and I've shot a 500 Nitro Express. It is both of those experiences I had that caused me to write what I did for the Whale Guns Friendship and Mods video. Express rifles are hilarious, they're awesome, they're fantastic, but there are almost zero gun ranges in the US where you can use one. They just don't allow it because their penetration is measured in yards. So you can't just show up to a gun range and be like, oh yeah, this is my express rifle. You'll put thumb-sized holes through the back wall into the parking lot and into the next building. They're neat, but if I can't shoot it, I won't enjoy it. Now, I will say this, the BPL did almost have an Air Force, that is correct. Fucking Albania.
Not a tank, what about an IFV? My rule is nothing tracked.
Why?
Because of
Is it the maintenance? Are you scared? Because I am. I'm very much scared.
No, I picked up the key in here. Why is it saying I don't have the code all of a sudden to unlock the gate? There it is. Fucking hell.
It's because the game doesn't like you, bud.
It's because I didn't pick up the key this time.
But yeah, when it comes down to... I'd love to have a tank, but at that point, it's if you give a mouse a cookie. If you want to have a tank, then you have to suddenly go, well, I need land for it, and then I probably need a house on the land, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just snowballs. It's best not to go down that road.
To maintain it.
Yeah, like if someone says, oh, Tex, I'd love to buy you a tank. I'm like, are you going to pay Depp to take care of the tank for me? I'm sure Depp would agree. Like, if I said, Depp, I'll pay you a reasonable salary to take care of a tank. That'd be fun. But that's the amount of care that goes into something like that. Unless it's just something you park on your lawn and forget about.
Which some people do. I mean, that's, you know, none of the Foreign Legion or VFW tanks will ever move under their own power again because that's what's been done to them. But
if the hull is good, the tank will move. It's just a matter of money.
Where you at?
And by that, I mean literally all the money. Because you'd have to have a lot of stuff made. You'd be like, well, the engine's shot, so...
Yeah, well, hell, some of them that I've been in didn't have engines.
That's fine. That's where you go find somebody who's like a crazy metalhead who makes their own
BPL
engine
needs
blocks.
a Navy. Well, so we had a chance at the Ares for a little while there, which is of course the hydrofoil gunboat that the Navy built in the 70s. It's parked on offshoot of the Missouri River. Ow!
We've
Oh,
tried to buy a
fuck
lot
you.
of things, but people don't want to sell us stuff, which is bullshit. Tom, you're a bad man. There, I said it. Oh, look, it's Boomer Banzai. One of my other 1911 clients. I actually... Okay. So a year ago at the last BPL meetup, I told Boomer Banzai, because he had a Remington Rand 1911.
One of the CMP
And
ones?
No.
Okay.
Far before CMP, his dad had actually put it together for him. And so I was like, oh shit, this is badass. And he's like, yeah, this is badass. And I was like, yeah, this is badass. And then once we got past the badass stage, I'd asked him about it. And he said, it has a few problems. And I said, what do you mean a few problems? And he listed off a few problems that 1911s can have. And I was like, all right. So my gut says we can fix this. And so I had him, I gave him a list of parts and I gave him a list of tools to bring to the meetup. And in the middle of the BPL meetup, in the corner, I rebuilt that 1911. Just because I was like, I want to see if I can do this. And we did. We rebuilt the whole thing. He was handing me tools. It was like brain surgery, and it was pretty good. And then he went and ran it pretty hard afterward, and everything worked out just fine. Yeah, no, I remember Boomer Bonza and I were just sitting in the corner drinking, like, let's make this baby run. Like, we had a good time with it, and that's kind of, I guess, the point of being a
Tom says he was
gunsmith.
there too, but he was drunk as shit.
That's fine. I remember when Tom came in on his birthday, which coincides with the meetup, and everyone turned toward Tom, and we all started clapping, like in unison, like just, we were just started clapping, this huge bit of clapping, and Tom looked scared, like he was going to either shit or run out of the room. And then people brought him out like a bunch of donuts because it was his birthday, and he ate a few, and then he handed the rest of us. But we all were like, it's Tom's birthday. We must do something. So we all turned in unison and started clapping. It was kind of cultish, but it was kind of fun, but also kind of cultish.
Yeah, I've got that formation military clap from ceremonies burned into my soul, where you're only allowed to clap like 12 times and then you have to stop.
You must clap. There is an element of clapping that is appropriate. Beyond this, nothing else is appropriate.
There is.
I know.
It's from, like fucking change of command ceremonies. And there's a very specific tempo, it's about like 140 beats a minute.
God. Imagine having to go through clapping class.
That's the thing, is nobody teaches that to you. You just pick it up through cultural osmosis. You're in your first change of command ceremony, you're like, oh god, they're all clapping the same. How do I clap like that? I'm not going to be the outlier.
As Bionic pointed out,
draw attention to myself.
As Bionic pointed out, we started slow clapping and then started getting faster, and we all synced up pretty quick. It was kind of weird, but also kind of awesome.
Clap until someone falls over, Soviet style. Tech Step, what are your thoughts on the DP-28? And if it was modernized, what would you do to it?
The modernized version is called the RP-46. They're all right. It's basically halfway between a DP and a RPD. They're all right. They're not great. They're not terrible. They're all right. But the gun you're looking for is called an RP-46. You're welcome. Thank you for coming to my text talks. And it's not hard to convert a DP-28 to an RP-46. It's like 8 minutes. If that.
No, no, no!
What have you done?
He blew off my legs!
You know, robots do that.
I think I'm easier to spot when I'm crouched and sneaking than I am when I'm just running around.
I don't know. Like, I'm just saying this out loud. If I saw a bunch of people running around on the ground, like really fast, I'd probably notice that a bit faster than anything else. Just thinking out loud here. I'd be like, that's a person running around on all fours at like 40 miles an hour.
That's an interesting configuration for a camera. Hey man, have you gone and checked in with a lamp cam?
Lamp cam.
Any cleaner maintenance kit stuff you swear by, or is it really all the same?
It's okay. Ballistol is pretty great. I like Ballistol a lot. And here's why I like Ballistol. A lot of people will say it's all the same, but so Ballistol was this magical oil that was made by the Imperial German Army.
Fuck that
It was
guy.
made for them. It was made in Germany, like way long ago, and Ballistol finds water. So if you spray something down with Ballistol and it finds water, it beads white. It turns into white blobs, and you will know instantly where water is. So really amazing stuff. It encapsulates and surrounds water. Ballistol is also non-toxic. Ballistol will actually prepare and preserve wood and leather and waterproofs. So it does all of these things. It eats carbon deposits, it cleans guns, it oils stuff. Ballistol is the ultimate everything oil. I believe in Ballistol forever.
Fuck that guy. You guys think they would sell us a Zumwalt? Nah, Zumwalt's gonna go to like Australia when they sell it.
Oh, poor Australia. I feel bad for them.
We're not gonna let it go to like the Philippines.
I also would love to see that.
I think when we get rid of it, they're just gonna break it up.
Yeah,
I don't
they'll
think
say
they're
it's
willing
very
to let-
technical important.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be willing to let any of that stuff go. Because it may have been a failure in our Navy, but it would be one of the most powerful OP-4 ships out there in anybody else's.
Mr. Train.
Fuck you. Got any friends? Nope, you're all alone. Guarding a park bench.
Well, I mean, that's kind of important. Park benches are important. Tom, don't get too drunk. We need you later.
We do?
Yes. Well, you have to work.
Yes, I have to work.
I have a project later.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
You'll see. You'll see. Speaking of, where are we on time? I always forget in these streams because I'm lost in nostalgia.
It's 6:17, so we've got another, like, hour.
Oh, that's good. Because I always get lost in nostalgia with these streams. I'm like, oh man, I remember this episode, but I only remember this part. And then little bits like come back to me, right? And then we start talking, and then I look over and like Bulk is mad because he's like, it's farm sim time. And I'm like, oh, right, because you do that thing. Shit. Oh, the 1911 project. Well, Diggs was a mod of the BPL for a long time before stepping down, and I said if ever he stepped down, because of all the hard work he did, I'd build him a gun. So I built him a 1911 Series 70 in 38 Super. I'd started with a original Series 70 38 Super made by Colt far before their CZ buyout and many other things. And I rebuilt the whole thing, which is I stripped it down, I reblued it, I rebuilt and hand fit every part, forged a new barrel, and then all the internals I took out of my 1911 catalog. Really wild, rare, one-off 1911 parts, and most of it from the 1970s and 80s. And yeah, I made a pretty good gun out of it. So Diggs got it, and he says it runs pretty good. So that's good to hear. I build guns. Depp owns a few of mine, actually.
I do.
I presume most of them work.
Yep.
That's an
Boringly
endorsement.
reliable.
Excellent. Yup. It goes okay.
Gunther's kind of a dick, huh?
Hosface says, hi Tex, why are you feeling sorry for the Aussies? Alright, so I spoke with someone who lived in Australia, and they were explaining the value of the Australian dollar and the average size of like an apartment in a city, if you work in a city. And it sounded positively dystopian. But they also reminded me that Australia has a very much lackadaisical, who gives a shit attitude toward most things. E.g. the Bunnings Snag and the XB Ford Falcon and many other memes that have, transmutated over the internet. So I can't say that all of that feeling bad was genuine. I envied them in many ways. Feel bad probably also has to do with the danger of your wildlife. There's a lot of that.
There's some of that, yes.
Osfey's like, oh, you get used to the wildlife. I don't know. That seems a little alarming.
Yeah, don't mind the testicle taser. You get used to it. That's what Australians sound like when they're like, oh yeah, don't worry about the wildlife.
You know, you're not wrong. It's when they mention stuff and they're like, oh yeah, it's not a problem. You know, you sit there and you listen to them and they're like, oh yeah, this one spider, all it does is kill infants. And you're like, that seems kind of alarming. And they go, oh, it's not that bad, you know?
Yeah, and dingoes absolutely ate that woman's baby.
But anyways, like seriously, that's just very casual, like, yeah, it's not a big deal. But to any of us in the West, we're like, holy fuck.
I'm gonna kick Gunther's fucking ass.
Worth its weight in gold.
You could blow him up.
I could. I might beat him to death with a stick.
He is kind of dumb.
Watch yourself. This one's some kind of mess. We're gonna need some reading. That's one down.
God!
The area.
Those
That was
sniper
going
rifles
pretty
suck.
well,
Yeah.
too. So Moonchill asks my thoughts on the Zip 22. I handled one once. I said this is a very cyberpunk disposable handgun. It reminds me a lot of the Ring of Fire lawsuits, or Ring of Fire controversy, where you have a lot of guns made out of Zamac, aka the Saturday Night Specials, Phoenix Arms, etc., etc. And I realize that this is just something intended to be used once, so it's more an appliance than a function of art, which doesn't really interest me. By the way, Gunther called you afraid. You might want to heal your center torso. You do have a med kit.
Let's try to get an ID.
God damn it.
Med kit's important.
I think I've got a couple med kits. Yeah, I got 5 or 6 of them.
And the question of, is it as terrible as people claim? Yeah, it's cheaply made. And I'm not trying to say that it couldn't be made better. It could be. But the other thing is that I've not yet shot a 22 that I would consider to be a reliable firearm. The cartridge itself, being rim-fired, does have some issues. I mean, Deb, have you ever had a 22 that fired every round?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Watch yourself. This one's some kind of mess. Nice work.
God damn those. They were able to hip fire those sniper rifles better than I can shoot them at range.
That's because you got the shakes.
Yeah. My robot arms, I got the shakes from not enough fucking pre-workout, I guess.
You haven't had enough robot juice.
Baby food. If RoboCop is to be believed.
I don't know. If you told me all I could eat was baby food, that would kind of streamline my life in terms of efficiency. I mean, I wouldn't like it, but I'd be like, no thanks. I have the babby food.
Fuck, where did you come from? God fucking damn it. I think the pillow pushed me around right there.
Yeah, but in pre-Half-Life games, you have to understand that physics was optional.
Physics was just weird.
Of course it was.
I'm sure those will come in handy. Oh, let's mitigate shotgun recoil again. Used to just slide off the ledges for no reason. Yeah, I remember. What do you think RoboCop's favorite baby food is? You know, I would think like the apple, probably.
Apple's a solid
everybody
choice.
likes applesauce.
I've never heard anyone say, I hate applesauce.
Even if you don't like, you know, traditional applesauce, you got the pink strawberry applesauce.
I've never had that.
That's fine.
Is it literally strawberries, or?
It's a mix of the two, yeah. A
Oh.
little bit of strawberry in the applesauce.
All right.
Just a more berry flavor.
Let's finish him off.
I mean, that's fair. It's different.
Am I carrying that dude, or did he just disappear? No, okay. Yeah, I'd already killed that guy. So that sniper had this view and didn't raise the alarm.
Maybe they're not great at their job, Deb.
That's some Metal Gear Solid terrible.
I know.
The coat, gotta check it out. You know, that would maybe have more weight if it was coming from one of the 8 organizations that haven't manipulated me through this entire experience.
Yeah, you understand it's Deus Ex when every other org you run into is like, we're not the bad guys. The other team is the bad guys. And you're like, you're also manipulating me. And they're like, it doesn't sound like me.
Yeah. I need a 20-minute codec call explaining it.
That was
is a
always...
true Metal Gear experience.
I need a 20-minute codec call to explain why this faction is relevant. I'm later going to undo this faction's relevance via an after-game cutscene.
Ooh, okay, this is a secure door. Let's see. 1942, 1942. That did it. So this is Sidon's vault. Very nice. What's the over-under that this controls the... It's gonna take all of my multi-tools to do that? Yeah, no, fuck that.
I don't know, man.
Push a box.
Those
into
public
the
access terminals are pretty tough to open. Most of them aren't just held closed by rust.
I didn't think the box would actually set it off. That's cool. Anybody going to come respond to that?
Is there anyone left to respond to that?
The gold. Wonderful. My people will take control. I believe you know Chad. I've given him control.
I believe you know Chad. Alright, so that one moves pretty fast. I've got about 5 seconds on that one.
This hoard dates back to when the Templars managed the French treasury for Philip the Fair. They moved it here from the temple in Paris after the crackdown of 1306.
Mr. Train, people heard it in the background.
But had to
Did they?
abandon the cathedral
Yeah.
for the evacuation.
I must get a few emails a week now, even though it's been a while since we've done it. People keep asking about the Magistrata Mundanus. So what I have to ask, what do you think that your wonderful police sergeant learned about his experiences?
Oh, lessons learned from
Yeah, Magna City.
Magna City. Oh, you know, probably that there's a lot less difference between warfare and policing than he initially thought.
Little horrifying, but I understand.
Well, I tried to go about it with that mindset that, you know, forget everything I actually know about police work and go into it as a fucking officer in a cult. Oh god fucking damn it.
Alright, UNC Samurai asks, Tex, after Delta Squad left for wilder pastures, did the captain blood pressure get back to triple digits? You know, I don't know. It's a great question. The answer is probably no. Because they probably had to deal with worse. Because while Delta Squad was indeed awful in many ways, they actually did accomplish police work.
Occasionally.
Well, crime went down wherever they went, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate.
Right. So while that may be horrifying to think about how they did it or whatever, crime did go down. So even though they did so in an incredibly difficult and obtuse manner, they did achieve their prime objective of being law enforcers, and that the law was broad broadly enforced.
No,
Though
I
perhaps
would
not
agree.
in the best way. Yet, crime did hit zero in one part of the city, the watershed district. You just got to that point where you were like, I throw the grenade in the thing, and I'm like, all right.
Well, you know, when I run stuff and my players are being jokey, occasionally I do like to go, no, that's what actually happens. You actually say that, or you actually do that. So when faced with that opportunity, I couldn't exactly, in good conscience, be like, no, I don't do that, because we're joking and smoking.
Well, of course.
Okay. 0022. Fuck.
Yes, obey your new masters. Come to me.
Gunther's real.
It's 2:04.
204, 204.
And we're back.
We are back. Picking the lock.
There he is.
And save, because that's a fluke that'll never happen again. Killing one of them and not getting any damage. Golf pistol, yeah. Throwing knives, eh. Some buckshot. And some money. Which I can use all the time in this game. Can't wait for the
Okay.
Star Wars RPG, says E-Train.
Star War.
Texas Bort Dortelson, the Kaiser Soze of Night Fight City.
Yes. Yes.
Kaiser Soze. Yeah. You know, if you say Kaiser Soze wrong and pronounce it Kaiser, like geezer, but with a K.
I don't
takes
know.
away some of the horror.
I actually mispronounce things on purpose just to see if people are paying attention. So, like, I'll go out to a restaurant. People are like, oh, what will you have for your starter? And I'm like, I'll have a Kaiser salad.
Kaiser salad. You know, that was one thing that I really did appreciate about Fallout New Vegas, was you could tell where a character stood in the grand political, you know, everything of that game based on how he pronounced that word.
True. Quite true. I would have loved if Caesar's Legion actually used Little Caesars as a template.
All the way to Paris to tell me that.
It is a simple message I am demonstrating.
You know, if they'd said like pizza, pizza before stabbing someone.
That doesn't mean you can stop me.
I have been upgraded for this assignment. I am engaged.
Oh, I don't get a chance to try to talk him down? God! That was a dick way to start that fight. Little Caesar's hot and ready Legion. Hot and good. Is it tasty?
It's ready.
Yeah, hot and ready. That's what it is.
It's ready.
Oh.
I remember when they used to have like the Little Caesars Bigfoot and a lot of other ideas they ran into before Hot and Ready.
Yeah.
I remember.
Little Caesars is better than CC's, and that's about it. Oh, I remember.
I remember CC's Pizza. It used to be like, oh, it's T-ball practice.
Are they
It's
still in
CC's Pizza.
business?
I think they are.
You don't sound very confident either.
I do not. It's for a reason. I'm like, I believe. I want to believe. Let's say I want to believe they are. Are they?
I don't know. Are they? Fucking knew he would. Ow. Oh, you dick. How did I miss that trap the first time?
I don't know. How did you? Or perhaps more importantly, why did you?
Why? Alright.
Now you'll see that you cannot succeed all alone against the whole world.
You came all the way to Paris to tell me that.
It is a simple message
That doesn't mean you can stop me.
I have been upgraded for.
Well,
I swear
it
to
seems like
Christ,
that's
don't
not
kill
worked
us
out.
both. What do the numbers mean, Denton?
Seems like that's not worked out so well.
Okay, yeah, the law is just a little bit too much.
It is cool though.
I've been upgraded for this assignment. Yeah, of course you have, you weird fucker. It's... Alright, so I have to trip that. They don't want me coming in with bioelectric reserves, I guess.
Try mines, comes the suggestion from Chad.
Well, I've just got the one lamb. Nope. Well, wasted that.
Now you'll see that you cannot succeed all alone against the whole world.
You came all the way to Paris.
I have been upgraded for this. I believe I will enjoy.
RPG is not a point-blank weapon. I was hoping I was sufficiently upgraded to survive that. That was my hope. Yes, yes. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, fuck! Come on, Gunter. You want to do this? We'll do this.
Is that him? He is here. You shall not make a challenge.
Fuck! Backblast wasn't clear, I guess. What if you huck the grenade just around the corner and book it out of range of the trap? Well, I got caught on the wall, so it didn't get me out of range. I don't think he spawned in yet. Gunter, you back there?
He's somewhere back there, I'm sure. He's using Grammarly to spell check his life.
I wonder if he got caught in the explosion. God, the splash on that is just absurd. Okay. I'm gonna stop trying to kill him with the law.
Look, if I had a law rocket, and there was an opportunity to use the law to, enforce the law,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, that didn't appear to have an effect on him. Also, his machine gun seems to be much more powerful than mine. Nope, and there's the flamethrower of hell. Can I use those fire extinguishers on myself?
I don't remember, and that's just me being honest.
I don't think I can, because I don't recall there was ever anything I could really do with it.
You're also mostly not flammable. You're weird biomimetical nonsense.
That's what I'm supposed to be.
Well, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that flamethrower is just instant death.
It is. What about mines? How many you got?
None. Well, I've got the one grenade that's also a mine, but I can't. Hold on. What if I? Okay, so I've got the lamb set up. There he is.
Riga Streaming says JC himself is mostly not flammable.
It's a trench coat.
That jacket, though, might as well be made of gasoline and Christmas trees.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate.
I met a guy who had a Christmas tree farm in Texas, and that guy told me, I asked him, like, how often does all this shit burn down? And he just laughed, and he was like, often.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I suppose that would make a certain amount of sense.
Well, he said, and this was about 10 years ago, he said that he charged something like, God, I want to say he charged something to the neighborhood of $50 to $60 a Christmas tree, and that's on the cheaper side, as you know.
Yeah.
Because he sold that whole experience of, go out and pick your own Christmas tree and saw it down and all that. And I think he had 10,000 Christmas trees a year. So the man made money.
Are you listening? I will hunt you down wherever you run.
I don't think that's true, Gunther.
He is here.
That might have been a sympathetic detonation. That does look like Gunther pieces everywhere.
Did
Hot
we
damn.
achieve
I
something?
think we just did it.
Hot damn.
No new messages? Okay. I see. This is the room that was being monitored by the fucking robo-skirt. Uh-huh, yeah, beep, 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 whatever. Gunther is gone to... 30 out of
That's a
6
horrible
close
way of
range
saying
to the
it,
side
but-
of the head it's rather lethal. Mental Gin. There we go. And now that camera is off. Gunther is gone. What was my password?
I got the sneezes tonight.
$34,501,08711.
By the way, when's Farm Sim?
And another 30 minutes.
Okay, just making sure. I don't want to fuck these people up.
Yeah, I gotcha. We'll get through this computer and then we will call it a night, I think.
Well, we
34,
killed Gunther.
501.
That's actually an achievement. Rather a remarkable one.
Remember
Gunther
what the rest
alive
was.
equals no.
Zero 8-7-11. 34,501,08711. I've already fucked it. Whatever. Oh, I took a screenshot in my frustration. No email? No email from the .antigov email account? Who would have thought? Oh, hey, there we go. Now there's somebody to talk to here.
Certainly teach you how to fight, didn't we?
You're worried, Simons. We almost have a cure.
You have nothing. Even if efforts succeed, you can't synthesize enough vaccine to stop an epidemic. You need a universal constructor, and don't think Page Industries is going to leave one lying around for you to use. Not after you blew up the one in Hong Kong.
I was never properly trained in its operation.
Laugh it up, Denton. Next time we won't use an old box of bolts like Gunter. The only reason I let him go to Paris is that I was sick of his moaning about Navarra and constantly...
The guy I sent was not the true operative.
To death.
He was the last of the mechs. Next time you will face someone of your own abilities.
Okay.
My real challenge is in the future.
Can I talk to anyone interesting on here?
Wow.
No? Okay. Well, I guess that's where we end for the night.
I have to say this, they really polished the floor really well.
Yeah, somebody spent a lot of time with a buffer in here. I mean, look at that. It is rough
Look at
stone.
that. Like, perfect reflection. Except for you, obviously. But the rest of it, perfect reflection.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be an inch of lacquer over the top of this cobblestone.
That's impressive.
Well, flagstone more, really.
But still.
And now they've got a bunch of Gunter to buff out. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you
sees
do
his
your lacquer
vampire?
right, all you have to do is one squeegee and he's off it.
No, see, it's reflecting me. I block light. I'm not a vampire. Although I dress like one.
You do. You dress like a Blade bad guy.
I will now consent to meet you in person. Go to the metro station nearby and await my instructions.
Oh yeah, the metro. They'll never think to lock down the metro.
Yeah, public access transportation never gets locked down. Ever. Ever. In a crisis or security situation, never. Not
Never.
once.
So, alright. We've got Farm Sim Fridays coming up. And, I'm not going to be here next week. So, we'll do something next week. And we'll go from there. You all have an excellent night.
Stay safe. Be well.